Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, it's never enough? Like there's this endless chase for approval that leaves you feeling exhausted and empty. Today, I want to dive into something real and raw. What if there's a better way to find validation, a way that doesn't leave us feeling drained? Let me start by telling you a bit of my story. Before I met Jesus, I was caught in that same cycle of needing approval. I wasn't just looking for it, I was desperate. I'd done some things in my past that I couldn't shake. I was haunted by the guilt of who I used to be, and it drove me to seek validation from everyone around me. I thought if others saw me as good enough, maybe I'd finally believe it too. But the truth is, it was exhausting. Galatians 1:10 asks, am I seeking the approval of man or of God? For a long time, I didn't even know what it meant to seek God's approval. I just wanted people to see me differently than who I used to be. We all crave validation. It's natural. But when we put our self-worth in other people's hands, it's like handing them the remote to our peace and joy. One day they approve of us, and the next day they don't, and suddenly we're left questioning our value. Proverbs 29:25 warns, the fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. I lived in that snare, stuck in a cycle of trying to prove myself. But what I needed was to be set free. Then I encountered a verse that changed everything for me. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come. And that truth was a lifeline. It told me that I didn't need to keep running from my past because God wasn't holding it against me. My worth was now rooted in being made new in Him. And no one else's opinion could take that away. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones, each one representing a time you needed someone's approval. Heavy, right? Now imagine God coming along, taking off that backpack and reminding you that you don't need it anymore. That's what it feels like when we start living for God's approval instead. Psalm 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God's approval is steadfast, unchanging, and isn't based on our performance. But shifting to this mindset isn't always easy. It's like trying to walk uphill in a storm when everything around us screams that our worth is based on what others think. But Romans 12:2 challenges us. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. This journey isn't about fitting into the world's standards, but allowing God to reshape our minds and hearts. There was a woman I once knew who wrestled with this concept of validation as well. Her life was consumed with people-pleasing, trying to prove herself to her partner, her friends, and her family. Nothing she did seemed good enough. She was exhausted. But then she encountered a truth found in Ephesians 2:10 that says, for we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works. She realized that her worth didn't come from anyone else but God. The freedom she found in that moment was powerful. She could finally rest knowing she was already loved and accepted by God. Living for God's approval doesn't mean perfection. It means authenticity. It means letting go of the mask and embracing who God made us to be. Psalms 103:12 says, as far as the east is from the west, so far has He removed our transgressions from us. When we make mistakes, God's grace is there. When we fall, His love catches us. His approval isn't based on what we've done, but on what He's done for us. I knew a man who felt like he was living in the shadow of his own failure. He was overwhelmed by depression, convinced that he'd never be enough. But when he encountered God, he discovered that his value wasn't in what he had done, but in who he was to God. Isaiah 41:10 speaks God's heart towards us. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. That truth changed everything for him, lifting him from a place of despair to a place of hope. So what does it look like to live for God's approval? It means living with confidence, knowing that we're loved just as we are. It's being free to be ourselves, to make mistakes, and to trust that we're held by the one who knows us completely. It's knowing in Christ that we are enough. When we believe that God stands above human approval, it changes everything. Galatians 1:10 reminds us to live for an audience of one, and that's where true freedom is found. So let's let go of the endless chase for approval and rest in the love and acceptance of our Creator. Thanks for being with me here today in my prayer closet. I know it's not much, but I'm just here trying to speak to you. And if it spoke to you, would you please leave a comment below? I'd love to hear how God's working in your life. And if you're hungry for more, check out my other videos where we explore finding peace, purpose, and true worth in Him. I'm here to be a resource for you, to pray for you, and do anything I can to help you walk with Jesus daily. May God bless you.